Well, I make that 7 o'clock. So, hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Kevin from Inquality, a company based up here in the north of England. Thank you for joining us for this webinar this evening. Thank you to Sarah for organizing it. She's there in the background. Who knows, maybe she'll pop up at some stage. Hope you're all in okay. I hope you can see and hear me okay. There's always a challenge with these things, isn't there? There's normally something that, can't see you, can't hear you, or something like that. So, despite the fact that we are a technology company, doing these things is always a bit of a challenge, with playing around with different computers plugged into other computers and things. So, fingers crossed. Let's see how that goes. I'll try and keep an eye on the chat as we go along, and if I ignore anything, Sarah, do let me know. I need to squint a little bit at this screen to see things on the chat, but we'll see how that goes. And I'm going to tell you about ipDTL. Now that's a lot of letters, isn't it? ipDTL, Internet Protocol down the line. If you split it up that way, I mean, everything is IP these days. Your mobile phone is IP, your computer's IP, everything that you do involving anything across the internet is Internet Protocol IP. So that's the IP start. DTL is down the line. We talk about in fact, we used to use it in TV more, the term down the line. We'll say we're going to do a down the line interview, and it's a virtual line these days, isn't it, or a digital line across the internet, and that is where the DTL part comes from. So once you break it down like that, it sounds a little bit, it's an extra letter from ISDN, which is what we used to use and still is used in a few places. We've added an extra letter just to wind you up even more, give you an extra one to remember, and then there are additional acronyms, of course, and various techno jargon that we'll come to as we progress through this webinar. So if none of it makes any sense, then do type into the chat, and I'll try my best to respond to all of your messages as much as possible. So Inquality, as I say, we're based up here in the north of England. I was a BBC radio, studio manager, we used to call it, or studio director. I worked at the World Service in London and at Television Centre on Radio 4 and 5 Live. And then I moved up with the brand new Salford operation, as it was, to launch 5 Live in Salford, which was very exciting. And I worked on BBC Breakfast a little bit while I was there. And I've lectured in radio, and I've done all sorts of things. But I then, when I was at the BBC, thought there's got to be a better way to get people on air. There are got to be some better options to what we have at the moment. And there wasn't really. So gradually, it wasn't plain sailing, but gradually we came up with something, and it was called ipDTL. That's what I call it. And it's actually, you can see it now, it's a website. So if you go in your web browser to ipDTL.com, and you can play along with us at home if you want. In fact, I will be looking for willing volunteers to get involved and actually talk to us on the live stream to demonstrate how this works. So if you've got a microphone and a pair of headphones is key. We'll come to why that is. Then it would be great to actually get you on board. I am using here the Edge web browser. I've got a Windows computer, but it doesn't have to be Windows that we use. And this is a fairly new development. Internet Explorer was no good for what we wanted, but Edge, which is the newer Microsoft browser, is actually pretty damn good because it is based on Google Chrome. So I've got the icon for Edge down here, and that's the browser that I'm using. It's similar to Chrome. Chrome is the Google browser. What else is there? There's Opera there. We've released our own version of Chrome, which is called the ipDTL browser, imaginatively. And if I scroll down here, you'll actually see there's a link to download the ipDTL browser. Why have we done that? Are there not enough web browsers already? Well, yes, there are. But our version, as it says on the webpage here, is based on Chrome, but it is locked to a known stable release. So that means if the browser manufacturers do anything to mess things up, then you'll know about it. No, the other way around. Hopefully you won't know about it because you'll be using our version of the browser, which is locked to that stable release. So if they mess up, it won't matter so much. Stop me if I'm going too far already, too fast already, and none of this is making any sense. Meanwhile, let's go back to the homepage. And as I say, it is a web page, ipDTL, and therefore the way to use it is just to go to ipdtl.com in your web browser and log in with your login ID and password. If you haven't got an account, then you can click this Get ipDTL button at the top of the page, and this gives you loads of questions. What do you want to do? ipDTL does so many different things now: phone calls, ISDN calls. You can receive phone calls, make phone calls, but the best thing it does is connect in good quality across the internet using the Opus codec. Opus is it's a revelation, really. What else is, if you don't know what a codec is, MP3 is a codec essentially, and Opus is a bit like MP3, if you like, but it's better and it's faster and it's more efficient for sending data across the internet in real time. We're talking about real-time communication here. So we're using Opus, and the best way to use that is through your web browser from one computer to another, or perhaps using a SIP device, which we might talk about a little bit later on. Anyway, loads of questions about what you want to do. You can answer those and step through the wizard, and then at the end it will tell you the best package that you want. If you want, you can, if you know what you want, you can click on skip this wizard down there at the bottom right, and then it just takes you to this page where you can actually choose your account features. We have bronze and silver and gold. You can see that affects the price on the right hand side, and you can also see what it will cost annual. You do save a lot of money by going annual, and we have a day pass as well, which costs £15 per day, and that gives you all of these, ISDN calls and phone calls, and you can send a link and what have you. So there are various features that you can add, and we can talk more about those as we go along. For now, we're going to assume that we've got our accounts. I'm going to go back to the home page, and I'm going to type in my login ID, which is iq.pc, and then I'm going to type in my password, which I'm not going to tell you. That's loading up now, and that takes us to the home page for ipDTL. And you can see already that it's recognizing my audio. The reason the way that it's doing that is it is listening to my audio interface that I've got connected to the computer. I'm going a bit of a convoluted route here. My microphone's going into a mixer. That mixer's going into my audio interface, and that audio interface is connected on USB into the computer. But you can just as well use a USB microphone, and that's how a lot of people use ipDTL, is with a USB microphone. And let's show you what one of those looks like, shall we? Here we go. Here's me, and this is the Rode NT USB. It's not working very well on the with the old green screen there, but you get the idea. The Rode NT USB is a microphone you can connect into your computer. The beauty of this, like most USB mics now, is it's got a headphone socket. So you can actually, I know you can't see that very well on there, but it's got a headphone socket which you can plug your headphones into. That way you get to hear your own voice, which sounds obvious, doesn't it? But some USB microphones, some old USB microphones don't let you hear your own voice without monitoring it through the computer, and there's a delay and stuff. So that's the beauty of most USB microphones. Now, do make sure when you're getting a USB mic that you can monitor your own voice. So we've got our webpage here, which is ipdtl.com. We've logged in, and it's got this quick start page that you can see here. It gives you some good advice. Choose the correct devices on the left. This is from these drop-down selectors on the left. So we make sure that we have selected our right interface, and we know that we can hear my microphone. It's a little bit loud going into there, and the best thing I can do is actually, let's see if this will work. If I go to my sound settings, this is where it all gets a bit fiddly. We go to our recording settings, we find the device that we're using, go to levels. You can see it's on 100 at the moment. If I bring it down here, and let's just do it so that we can see our ipDTL mids. You see how that's affected the input level now, and you see it's not going in up to the red like it was before. So I'm going to stick with it on 70 for now. That, as far as I'm concerned, is a better level for me to be sending to ipDTL. We've also got a control so that I can hear the audio coming back. And what I can do in ipDTL to test that A, my microphone, and B, my headphones are working, is I can click on this echo test, and that will connect. And then once it connects, I can speak, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then listen back, can speak, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. So that has sent my voice to the ipDTL test server and then sent it back to me. So I've quickly proven that A, my microphone works, B, my headphones work, and C, the the internet connection, and D, the computer, and the rest of it. Everything in the chain is working. Now, Diane, thanks for your message. She says, too loud, you're clipping. Now, my question to you, Diane, is, am I clipping on what you're hearing on Zoom now? Or are you saying that I was clipping into ipDTL? So, thank you for that feedback. Clipping on Zoom, so that is good to know. I've actually got a limiter going into Zoom, but clearly maybe I'm just getting a bit too excited and shouting so much. So that's good to know. I've backed off my gain on the mic slightly. Can you keep me posted on that? Because it's really useful to hear that, because there's nothing more frustrating when you're watching something about professional audio, and obviously you're all professional audio producers, and then the audio that you're listening to is ironically distorted or clipping. So it's difficult, of course. I mean, I've got a little earpiece in my ear at the moment. It is difficult to monitor these things. So I really appreciate you saying that. Can you let me know if that has solve that issue? Otherwise, I'll just spend the next 10 minutes talking about and faffing around with my audio levels. It's still clicky. Now, is that is that clicky as in, is it clipping or is it clicking? These are two different things. There's clipping audio and clicking audio. One is distorted and the other is an audio sampling problem. One's easy. I mean, I can just turn it down more. The other one is not so easy, because it means yeah, well, that means that there's potentially an audio sampling problem into the Zoom computer. Now but I mean, we're all on a journey here, so maybe we'll just take you on that journey for a moment on Zoom. If I share my screen with you. See if we can make this work. Thing is, we'll right, so screen sharing is actually disabled at the moment, so I don't know if you want to change that, Sarah. Now let's not dwell on the clicking for now. I know it's annoying, and of course we should have sorted that in advance of the webinar. Let's see how we go with that. Try and be patient, and I will appreciate your patience in doing so. Back then to ipDTL. And we were reading the quick start information. We didn't get far. It says you should always use headphones rather than speakers. Why is this? Skype and FaceTime and stuff, you'll say, well, they don't need headphones. Why do you need headphones with this? Well, the reason Skype gets a bad reputation for audio is because it's designed not to be used with headphones. And therefore, when you do use headphones, you improve the audio slightly. But when you don't use headphones, it's got all these clever algorithms going on that they prevent the audio from looping back through the speaker. That it solves that problem, but it causes more problems. It affects the audio quality of what you're sending through Skype. ipDTL doesn't have all of that stuff running, so the audio sounds better, but you must wear headphones to compensate. Now sharing is now enabled for the webinar, which is great. So thanks for sorting that, Sarah. And let's just go on a little bit of a journey together, because even if this isn't what you're here for on the webinar, these things, because we're all audio people, is hopefully still interesting. So I'm going to share my screen with you now and see if we can take a look at the audio settings on this computer. Tell me if you don't see this, because you end up half the time sharing the wrong screen on Zoom, don't you? So I'm going to go into my sounds. This is now on you're looking at the computer that I'm sending to Zoom now. And if I look at my default recording device, which is input 3 and 4 on my MOTU interface. Now, this is the optimum sample rate for these things, 48K. I was going to check to see that that's running at 48K. Maybe there's a conflict between that and Zoom. Now, there's not a lot more I can do about that at this stage. And you can see, actually, so I turned myself down based on your feedback. Actually, my level into Zoom's a bit low now, isn't it? So I think I can get away with turning my my volume up again on the basis that it wasn't, you know, it wasn't clipping so much as it was or is clicking. So again, let's try not to dwell on that so much, and let's go back to looking at our ipDTL computer, and I thank you for your patience with that. So always use headphones. Solid broadband, it says, with consistent packet delivery is required. What does that mean? Well, don't try and use Wi-Fi for a start. Don't try and use an internet connection which your family are watching Netflix on all at the same time, or somebody's uploading to Dropbox on. Make sure that don't try and use a tethered phone. You can try these things, but it's not going to work as reliably as having a good wired broadband connection. And there are some things you can do to test your broadband connection and make sure that it is indeed reliable. And it says these things on the screen there. It says click on loopback, echo, or tone to test, which indeed you can do, and we've already done. And then it says, to connect with another ipDTL subscriber, they must link your login ID to their account. But what we can also do below there, can you see that we have a send a link URL? That's a web address, send a link URL. That is how you can connect to me right now on this very webinar. And I would love you to do that. So the address, as you can see, is ipdtl.com/link/HEP. Now, the reason it says HEP is because on Saturday, I'm running a festival, the local village festival, the Hepton Stall Festival, which can't happen due to COVID. I'm running from this computer, so with any luck. Oh, but by the way, there's an extra thing going on here. I've got my audio going from OBS into, and my video going from OBS into Zoom, so there's an extra hop there. So we'll obviously make sure we've got all these audio issues sorted out before we do that. But that's why it says HEP there. If you have a web browser, Chrome or Edge or a similar web browser, maybe the ipDTL web browser, if you go to that address now, I would love to talk to you live on this webinar. If you don't, well, that's fine, but it means that I can't do as much of a demo. So I'm look at that already. Somebody's popped up. We'll see if anybody else wants to. I'll give you it one more time. It is ipdtl.com/link/HEP, HEP. At the moment, if you look at the mixer, we have 1x remote selected at the top of the page, and you can see that gives us a simple mixer down here. What I can do is I can switch to 4x remote or 2x remote, and that gives me the ability to connect to more than one person at the same time. If I click on mixer here, you'll see that I now have remote channel A and remote channel B. Now, in doing that, I think was it Sienna, I think was the name of somebody who had popped up, or similar. Just refresh your web page for me, because in doing that, you seem to have, unless you've just got nervous. Right, well, somebody else has popped up now, so let's go to that person. The other person, feel free to come back. It'd be great to have you join us. So we can see that Jules has now popped up on our web page, and we can now click to connect with them, and it's as simple, just click on their name. Let's see what happens. It will ring, and let's see if you answer. Maybe I should tell you how to answer. You click on the red box. You see I've got the red box there. It might be green for you, but you click on the status box to answer, to call. This is where we see if it actually works or not. So it's ringing, and there's an answered call, and I'm going to fade up on my mixer, my PC. Hello, Jules.
Hello, how you doing?
Oh, that's brilliant. Jules, whereabouts in the world are you?
I'm in Salford at the moment.
So you're not a million miles from me then. You're another
No, not at all.
Of the Northwest contingent. Now you can tell everybody else, hopefully, that my audio to you is nice and clean.
it's extremely clean.
That's a relief. It'd be embarrassing if the actual audio for ipDTL was broken. So you've been listening to this. Is it unbearable, the clicking, or is it, can you cope with it?
It's strange when you speak quietly, it's not there, but as soon as your voice becomes a little louder, it's there on like your plosive sounds.
So it does sound like clipping then,
Yeah.
in that I'm too loud rather than clicking, which is a sampling issue. Two similar but very different things. So on that basis, I'm turning myself down again. There you go. I'm much lower, and we'll see if that makes a difference. So tell me then, Jules, what's your role in the audio industry? Where are you on your audio production journey?
I'm a hobby music producer and engineer.
Cool. Okay. And do you have any immediate thoughts when you see and hear about ipDTL? Do you think, oh, I could use that for this, that, or the other?
I was just genuinely interested in taking this course because I'm looking for potentially a career move into something related to audio.
Brilliant. Okay. Has it made sense so far, or is there anything that I need to go back over that hasn't made sense?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm fairly au fait with a lot of different music making packages and audio packages, etc. So it all seems fairly intuitive. And the thing with any software is just have a play with it. You can't really break it, can you?
No. Well, let's hope not. Yeah, let's hope not. Well, that's great. And have you got? We can see it actually tells us that you're on a Mac and you're on OS X Chrome version 83. It tells us it snoops on you and tells us that information. Thankfully, it doesn't tell you any more personal information. What microphone are you using there? Is it just a built-in, or have you got anything more advanced going on?
I've got my iPhone headphones plugged into the headphone socket.
All right, cool. Well, it's working really well.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it sounds, for what it's worth. So it just goes to show, for those that are watching and thinking, well, do I need to use a USB microphone? The answer is not necessarily, isn't it? You've just proven that to get reasonable quality audio from a guest, you can just use your built-in computer with your headphones, built-in microphone rather.
Yes.
Cool. All right then, Jules. Well, listen, I really good of you to take the plunge and suddenly appear on our live webinar. So thank you for doing that. Any other questions before you go?
Not right now, but thank you very much for this.
Well, you can always pop back up on the link later. Jules, you can drop yourself off by clicking on the red box, and then you'll disappear. Bye for now.
Nice one. Cheers. Take care.
Bye. So there's Jules. Thank you for doing that. And he was so clever that he also turned off, or at least had it on his headphones, the webinar audio. Normally when you do that, you end up hearing yourself coming back. What I can even do is I can kick Jules off ipDTL now by using this. Do you want to remove the link plus user? Yes, I do. So there you go. Jules has gone. If you want to, so there's one proof of how easy it can work. If you want to prove that that wasn't a fluke, or indeed a stooge, we didn't set Jules up. I promise I've never spoken to Jules before in my life, and that wasn't a setup. Sarah can attest to that. So that's, in theory, that's how easy it works. You send the link to the person that you want to connect with. They go to it in their web browser, and they connect through to you. Let's show you that. And if you, in the meantime, if you want to hop on that link, we'll come back. But I'm going to click log out in ipDTL for a moment. I'm going to actually go to our send a link page to show you what it can look like. I'm going to go to link and /IQ. This will be actually the version that Jules saw will have looked slightly different because it was set up for video. So you get this page straight away, connect with in quality, but this would say connect with whatever your name is, or whatever your radio station is, or whatever your production company is. So connect with in quality, please enter your name. I'm going to type in Kevin and continue. And then it steps you through with, like, you'll forgive me for saying, with idiot instructions. It says select your microphone, so you choose your microphone, and then continue, and then select your headphones, so you choose your headphones. And you can even do, again, it's a bit like the test we did before, the echo test. There are two things. Let me turn down this a bit because tone tends to be a bit painful on the ear. So there's a tone test, and this is an echo test. Echo test. So there you go. They are ways to prove that your mic and headphones are working, and then continue. And then it loads, you see this simpler layout, and it says waiting for a connection. So your guest can see this setup, and it's got a nice little mute function there, so your guest can mute themselves to cough or whatever. But it's nice and simple. It steps them through without being overwhelmed by what you normally see on the ipDTL page. So I'm going to log out of there for now, and I'm going to go back to our login ID, ipDTL, and I'm going to log back in. If anybody else wants to come and talk to me, you know, this really, you can certainly type in the chat, and I'd love to hear from you in the chat, but also it's quite a neat way for you to instantly ask me questions and prove that it works. Can you send the link for the call, is the message. So yes, I absolutely can. The link once again is, I'm going to say it out loud, ipDTL, and maybe someone else can type this into the chat, ipDTL.com/link/HEP. I tell you what, why don't I just type it into the chat? ipDTL.com/link/HEP. There you go. I've put it in the chat. Let's just have a quick glance through the chat while we're at it and see on there. I have to reach in like this because my eyesight's terrible. I've got this tiny little screen on here, and I can't see very clearly what's on it, so I have to reach right in, and you get to see my forehead close up. The best thing I can do is, I'm doing lots of switching between screens here, so do bear with me while I do that. Hopefully hasn't been too clunky so far. Right, so if I do that again, and now I can reach, and you don't have to see a close-up of my forehead. Right then, Marissa says, I'm very new to ipDTL. How does it compare to other remote recording platforms like CleanFeed or Squadcast? Is the quality better or the same? Well, they're similar services. They do similar things. They all use this Opus codec that I talked about before. Opus is the high bandwidth, low bit rate, and low latency codec, which all of these services use. So in that way, they're similar. What is our unique selling point? Well, it's that we can connect to things like ISDN. And we can do phone calls as well, you know, traditional phone calls. You can receive phone calls. And also we can do SIP connections. I'm going to talk about SIP in a while because it really is the future. It's the new ISDN is SIP. So those are our unique selling points. Our service, compared to the other ones that you mentioned, is more broadcast focused, and it gives you more flexibility for connecting to various different sources in the world of broadcast. The other services you mentioned are used more for non-live broadcasting, such as podcasts and the like, but there's nothing to say that you can't use ipDTL for podcasts as well. It really depends what you're doing and what you think is the best tool. I'll come back to the chat because I noticed there's a few other things that have been typed on there, but we have another guest standing by here, and it is Diane. So I'm going to click on Diane's name. Diane, if you got us on a speaker, well, you shouldn't have. So make sure you got your headphones in, and you can click on the box on the screen, which is just above where it says VHEP Fest. You can click on that to answer the call. What's interesting here is there's clearly is there a delay on the Zoom stream? No, I don't suppose there is. So there's just a delay in Diane clicking the answer button. So Diane, you should see it ringing on the screen. I've got a red box on my screen. Where that red box is, just click on that to answer, and then we can talk to you. Yeah, there you go. It's funny that everybody's taking so long to answer. Hey Diane, how you doing? Now I'm going to guess you might be able to hear me, Diane. You can certainly hear me on the Zoom call, I imagine. But unlike before, with Jules, we're not getting any audio from you. Do you see that there is a send audio drop down? You can see it on my screen on the left hand side. It says send audio, and you can choose your send device. If you click on that, you can choose what your microphone is connected to. And then you can select it so that we can hear you. We won't. Well, I tell you what. Whilst you try and figure that out, I'm just going to keep listening to you. See if you suddenly pop up. I'm just going to have a little bit more look at the chat. Let's see what we've got? Candice says, does the person you're interviewing need to open up the ipDTL link on a computer, or can they also open up the link on the web browser on their phone? So do they need to open up the ipDTL link on a computer? Well, it's a bit of a gray area, to be honest. We've always said it's got to be a computer, you know, a desktop or a laptop running a Windows or Mac or to an extent Linux. Now that's changed even in the last few months. Android and iOS have come on in a fair way, and now Chrome, and feel free to try it if you want. If you're feeling brave, try it from an Android, or if you've got the latest version of iOS on your iPhone. It's actually Safari, funnily enough. You know, we keep saying use Chrome. It's actually Safari in the latest version of iOS, which runs ipDTL most reliably. So feel free to try it on that link and come and join us. But we can't, the thing is, we can't officially say at the moment, yes, we support it, because there's so many different versions of Android and iOS floating around. So it's kind of, you know, maybe with a chasing wind. Officially, the answer is no, we don't support it, but that is changing. You can always give it a go. If it works for you, then great. Again, make sure that you have headphones plugged into your phone, and that will make a difference. Next question from Lena Prestwood. This is interesting. Thank you. Will you be demonstrating the video function? Yeah, if you want. The way for us to do that is to enable the send video feature. Now, do you see on the left-hand side here on my ipDTL page, it says no video device for me, but for you, you'll be able to click on this send video button. If you click that before I connect to you, then in theory, and let's just, yeah, you see there's no video coming from Diane. Well, there's no audio coming from Diane either. If you click on that send video, and maybe you can do that, Candice. So you go to the link, I'll tell you the link again, ipdtl.com/link/HEP, HEP. If you do that and then enable that send video function, yeah, well, then we can indeed demo the video feature with you. On the ipDTL chat now on the screen, Diane has popped up and said, I've got headphones in now. Can you hear me? Well, no, Diane, we can't. So why don't you, Diane? I'm assuming you can hear me. Why don't you drop off? And once you've dropped off, hit the refresh button on the page, and then just have a look again at those, the send audio and the receive audio. You could toggle them to make sure that you're sort of selected for the right mic and the right headphones, and you could even do the little loop back test. Once you've done all that, we'll come back to you, Diane. So drop off by hitting the red box for now, and then we'll come back to you. She says, okay. So any second, if she clicks the red box, that should go back to the default stage, which is green. So click the red box to drop off, Diane, and then there you go. Thank you very much. Yeah, reload, blah, 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 and we will come back to you. Candice, if you do want to come on with video, it'd be great to demonstrate that with you. What else did Diane say? She said, sorry, rather, what did Lena say? It was... yes, it was Lena who was asking to demonstrate the video. So Lena, if you want to come on, that would be great. Adding to Candice Wilson's question, do they need Ethernet, etc., or is that just at the producer's end? Really, the more that you use Ethernet, the better it's going to work, especially if you are trying to use the video function, which video, of course, adds a whole extra layer of complexity to what it is that you're doing, and it uses, you know, is even more challenging for your internet connection. So really, Ethernet all the way. And another tip, if you are using Ethernet, don't just plug the cable in. Make sure you then disable Wi-Fi on your computer, because if you don't disable the Wi-Fi, you can guarantee that the audio will take the wrong path. It will go the wrong route on there. So so there's a couple of things for you to think about. All right, then let's see if Diane has got herself, oh, she's doing the loopback test. You can see that if I tried to click on Diane at the moment, it's grayed out because she's doing the loopback test. However, Lena has logged in, so I'm going to click on Lena's name. Lena, you answer the call by clicking the red box, the status box, which is ringing, which shows the ringing call. Click on that, That's how you answer the call. Everybody seems to be a little bit slow on that one. Click on the status box where it is ringing to answer the call, just above where it says VHEP Fest, which is that's there because I'm running a virtual festival with musicians and things from my home office here on Saturday. So that's why it says it's the virtual Hepton Soul Festival. That's what this is set up for in advance. Hey, Lena, how you doing? Well, that's 2 in a row now. That's bad, isn't it? I mean, we've proven that it can work because it was working for Jules, wasn't it? Maybe, Lena, we didn't give you a chance to select your audio settings on the left-hand side. You can do that while we're talking, where it says send audio and receive audio. You can click into those and make sure that you've got the right microphone. So, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
I can indeed. How
Great, I'll probably hear
exciting.
my kids at some stage as well, so let's not stay on too long.
Right then, where are you?
What, geographically in
geographically.
in North London.
Cool.
Got my headspace.
How are you enjoying the show so far?
It is thrilling, thank you.
I think I keep shouting on here. I am reducing my mic. I'm trying to keep remembering to keep my mic level down, and then hopefully it's not going to give you that nasty clipping that everybody. Because that's the worst thing when you're watching something like this is when you get clipping audio, and then if I'm guilty of it, I feel like a bit of a hypocrite, and it's just annoying, isn't it? We should do better. I do hear some children. Tell us your children's names.
Oh Christ! Well, that one's Ingrid. She's one.
I thought you were going to say, "Oh Christ, what are their names again?" I always forget this.
Give me an hour and I will forget them. Yeah. She's. It's definitely bedtime.
Yes, that for all of us, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right then, Lena. What have you picked up so far, and what are you confused about?
I was asked the question about the video, and I think, and in so doing. I have set myself up for now being the person who has to actually show their face. Hang on.
Yes, indeed.
So I need to press send video.
You do,
right?
And it will only do it when we don't have an active call. So I am dropping off the connection, then enable it, and then I'm going to call you back. All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Look, they're all stacking up now. While she does that, let's bring Diane back in, who seems to have a loopback call running, but also, I see that, Diane, you've got Chrome running. All right, I'm going to stop calling you Diane because I think you've got Firefox and Chrome running, and we don't want to connect to the wrong one. So I'm going to guess you've gone to Chrome now, and let's see if that works. Calling you on Chrome, Diane. Do answer that by clicking the status box now that you've done your test. Hey, Diane. That's a shame, isn't it? So it's still not working on there. Well, we've proven that it can work if it's set up properly at the remote end. So Diane, we're still not hearing you. I'm going to let you go away and figure that out more with your loopback tests. And the echo tests are really useful. I'm going to demonstrate how that works again. If I click on echo and I go, once it connects, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that's how you test that your mic and headphones are working. If you do that when you are waiting for me to connect with you, that'd be great. Let's see if Lena's got her video. There she is. Look at that. How exciting.
Very exposing. And hello, everyone.
I just quickly jumped on the fader because I had you faded down for a second. Nicely framed. Cool. This is all good. Well, you look like you're still a little bit awake. So well done. You're juggling all the plates this evening. What I can do, let's say I wanted to use this in some kind of video production. At the moment, you're just in a little window on my screen. I can click on R, which makes my remote guest larger, and I can click on the full screen icon. You are now full screen on my computer. What I can then do, like I'm doing now, is I could take an HDMI out of that computer, I could feed it into my OBS switcher, or whatever it is, or the QuickTime. And I'll move the mouse cursor off as well, because that's
You've not got a video you're in though.
No, no.
How awkward.
Isn't it just? Yeah. I could of course plug another webcam in to complicate things even further. But this is, to be honest, if you're doing this, who cares if the other person can see you? Because
if you're in an interviewing situation, which is what I'd be using this for, it's very much. I think a lot of people have been struggling with a way of recording incredibly high quality audio and being able to build a kind of visual rapport with people. So that's why I'd be interested in this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose my point was that if I'm recording you, you're my interviewee. I don't care if you can see me or not. In fact, it's just a complication. It's an added complication. And if you can see me, you're going to end up looking at me on your screen. What I really want you to do is look down the barrel of the lens as my contributor. It's like when we used to do the old newsroom camera stuff at the BBC. You'd say to the person, right, just look straight down the barrel of the lens. Don't look anywhere else. And it's the same. Yeah. It's the same with this. You'd say so. I think it's a distraction potentially that they can see you. They end up looking in the wrong place.
Right.
So you can use if you're on a Mac, have you ever used the QuickTime screen capture thing?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
That's great. So I've now got you full frame, and I could then use QuickTime's screen capture to capture your video, and then I could sync that up in my edit later on. Does that make some kind of sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And if I did want two people to be able to see each other, then that's fine. Then that still works.
Absolutely. And then if I'm being clever with this, let's see if I can be. I can, so you're my guest, you're talking blah, 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 and then I can cut to me, blah, 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 and then cut back to you. So that's how you do it in your live or pre-recorded production. Do you have any other questions at this stage about how
no just works? Desperate to get off everyone's screen.
Yeah, no, I get that. Well, that's fair enough. Well, thank you for being generous and being on our screen. So I'm gonna drop you off and say thank you for the live demo.
Thank you for your time as well. Cheers.
See ya. There's Lena. I hope I said Lena's name right. Actually, I should have checked that, I suppose. So there is the proof that there is indeed a video feature built into ipDTL, and that is how it can work. The emphasis for us is still really on the good quality audio, but there is a video feature there as well. Right, I'm going to say third time lucky with Diane and then give up on it. It sounds harsh, doesn't it? Diane, I'm calling you again, so click that button to answer. Hey, Diane. No, well, I'm so sorry. Another time. Martin has been waiting patiently meanwhile. So let's bring Martin in on our link. Hey, Martin, how you doing?
Hi, is this working?
It absolutely is. Yes, congratulations. You win yourself the ability to appear on this exciting webinar.
Oh, fantastic.
Tell us about you, Martin. Where are you?
I'm a podcast producer for the Daily Mail.
I was tweeting you today.
Oh, right. Yeah, cool. Sorry, I think I got the hang of it just by messing around with it a lot today. It's still coming up as no caller ID on phones, which is a bit annoying because people don't recognize, they don't pick up no caller ID.
Yeah, so just for those watching, we had I got a tweet from Martin today to the Inequality account, and it said when I call out to a phone from ipDTL, it's coming up with private number, and sure enough, that's problematic because we all just ignore those calls now, don't we? So we looked into it on our side, and we are sending the correct caller ID to our telecoms provider, and for some reason, for that specific number, it is not getting out to the far end. So we've reported it to our telecoms provider. They're looking into it, and we're also looking at a workaround on our side. So bear with us on that, Martin. We should have an answer on that within 24 hours for you.
Brilliant. Also, we'd like to do ipDTL because our presenter has an ISDN at his house, and he's almost 60.
Yeah. Too late to learn something new, right?
Well, no, because he doesn't want to come back into Northcliffe House yet because, there's a hell of a lot of forms to fill out.
Of course.
And so we'd like to do him over ISDN, but we've kind of got used to doing interviews over WhatsApp audio because you can do it over FaceTime, but only half the people have an iPhone. So WhatsApp audio is actually quite a you know, the quality isn't as good as FaceTime, but if you've got an Android, you can still do the interview.
Right.
So we also have a Rodecaster.
Mm-hmm.
How could you route WhatsApp audio through a Rodecaster into ipDTL?
Okay, let me think about this for a moment and then answer the question. So you've got WhatsApp audio coming out from your web browser.
Coming out of the phone.
Right. Okay. Do you use the TRRS jack cable from the phone to the Rodecaster?
So before we were, I think, I can't remember, well, my colleague's been doing it from home, but before we actually have a sort of radio studio level desk in the studio in Northcliffe House, which we've essentially got a radio studio built to do podcasts, but that's sort of all hooked up, and yeah, it's sort of it's a cable that goes from the phone into the Rodecaster that does that then records the call,
which is the aforementioned TRRS cable, and I'm just looking to see if I've got one here to demonstrate. It's a 4-pole jack cable. I can't find one, but it's a 4-pole jack cable. So that's what you're using. Well, that's easy. You fade it up on the Rodecaster, and you connect the Rodecaster to your computer using USB, and you select the Rodecaster in ipDTL, and ipDTL will hear the call from the phone, from the WhatsApp. That's it.
Right. So for microphone input on ipDTL, you then select Rodecaster.
Yes, and the important thing here is that you select a Rodecaster stereo rather than Rodecaster multi-track, because are you familiar with mix minus or clean feed? And this gets confusing because clean feed is a product and a thing. If you're familiar with clean feed or mix minus, which is the method of sending everything back to the device other than the incoming audio.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of information that I suddenly shouted out there. So you must set your USB channel on the Rodecaster to mix minus. Once you've enabled that, you select stereo. You select Rodecaster stereo in ipDTL, and then it will work. The ipDTL will hear everything coming from the Rodecaster apart from the incoming audio from ipDTL, which is what we want, including that WhatsApp call.
Right. So mix it on the Rodecaster, USB to the computer, set the channel to mix minus.
Yep.
And input to ipDTL set to Rodecaster.
Rodecaster stereo. That's the important detail.
Stereo.
Yeah. It's one of the important details.
Input is okay. Well, I'm making notes.
Cool.
That's the main thing.
Yeah. So that should do it. It kind of gets a bit frustrating with these with the Rodecaster, because you kind of run out of inputs and things. I kind of want more USB inputs on that device so I could connect another computer, but you can only do so much. I think the connecting your mobile phone on that flimsy jack cable is kind of the weak point of the Rodecaster Pro, because it's not really a professional connection, and it's going to be a little bit noisy and potentially a little bit crackly. But hey, if it works, if it sounds good, it is good.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, I think I understand remote ABCD,
Cool.
which is enough for us, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was it really. It's just being able to do these WhatsApp audio or FaceTime calls from a phone.
Great. Well, there's a bit of a learning curve for you in general with ipDTL. There's loads of stuff on our YouTube channel, and if for everyone watching, the Facebook group, which is facebook.com/groups/ipDTL users, or if you just look on, if you search Google for ipDTL users group, that should come up, or you search Facebook for that. There's loads of very helpful people in there, so lots of resources available. Martin, great to talk to you.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
Bye for now.
Cheers. Bye.
That's Martin there, proving that ipDTL can work. He just went on our link, which is shown on the settings page. Sorry, it's shown on the quick start page rather. ipDTL.com/link/heb, and then we had a chat to him. So Diane I can see is still testing her loopback shall I give her another go? I just feel like we've tried it so many times. Oh, look, she's called us. Hi, Diane.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. What changed?
I just fiddled with some of the settings.
Well, it worked. Whatever it was that you did, it worked. Sounds a bit like you're boiling a kettle, but I'm guessing that's just like the built-in mic on a Windows computer or something, is it?
It is.
Yeah.
But I can't. So I have one microphone. I have one jack for a mic or headphones.
Do you know what? That's exactly the thing we were just talking about. The TRRS jack socket stands for tip, ring, sleeve. I'll be asking questions later. That's a TRRS jack socket, and they're a bit problematic. It's not a professional audio solution. So for everyone watching, do try and avoid. I mean, obviously, you're just taking part in a webinar and you're using what you've got in front of you, which is absolutely fine. But more generally, you really want to be using USB audio and proper professional XLR mic cables into proper audio.
I've got all
interfaces.
those for my professional sound kit. I just don't normally record things over a frigging laptop. That's the thing.
I absolutely get that.
Can you post in the chat the details of the microphone you're recommending again? Because that just flew by me while I was trying to get this set up.
Well, I just showed you one mic, of which there are loads available. We have a web page, which if you Google ipDTL microphones, it gives you our recommendations. But there are a few which I currently think are our favorites. I've got the Samson C01U Pro, just happens to be here next to me. Sorry, you did say to type in the chat, didn't you? But I'm now juggling microphones.
Right. No, you're all right. I've just gone to your webpage, so I can bookmark that.
Now it's constantly evolving, and sorry to talk over you. It's constantly evolving. Is this situation? This is the C01U from Samsung, which isn't on that page. I really like this. It comes with a stand, and it feels kind of professional, so that's nice. I've also got the one I showed you before, is the Rode NT USB. There's also a Rode NT USB Mini now, which is a small version of this. They come with a built-in pop shield. That's really nice. I think that is on that device. People used to like the Yeti, the Blue Yeti. That's fallen out of favor slightly now that these newer, to be honest, better mics have come along. And then the old favorites, which are included on that page, are the Samson Q2U, which is more like a handheld mic. It looks a bit like, it's not quite this, but it looks very similar to this one.
Can I just stop you right there? Can I stop you a sec? Are any of these you talking about stereo mics, or are they all mono?
None of them are stereo mics. Is that an issue for you?
I like to. I record all my voice work in stereo always.
Good for you. Well, do you know what then? The one that I slagged off is the best one for you, which is the Yeti, the Blue Yeti, which is or indeed can be a stereo mic. There are various settings on the back. You can switch the polar pattern for the Blue Yeti, and there is a stereo setting on there. Now, there's a compromise in switching that to stereo, because in giving you a wider field, a wider pickup pattern to enable the stereo, it's going to expose the acoustic surroundings of your space. So it's just something to bear in mind.
That's what I'm wanting. I want to be exposed. I want people. I'm trying to record things so my productions sound immersive, like the people listening are in the space.
Well, there you go. Then you've got exactly what you need in the Blue Yeti there. Give it a go. The other thing people like now, which is a very flexible piece of kit, the Zoom H5, which is like several things in one. It's a stereo microphone. It's a portable audio recorder. It's an audio interface. It's almost like a mini mixer.
Well, the H2 won't work. I just bought H2 and a new H2. I've got 3 of them now, and I haven't got the money to buy a H5.
Fair enough. That's fine. So
can I ask another question?
Of course you can.
Thank you. was there a big reason why you and other people have sent the Blue Yeti out of favour? Is that the main problem, getting the room ambience with it, or is there something else that's an issue?
I got one on my desk that I've had about, I don't know, 6 years, and it's gone fizzy. It's kind of got a constant fizz on it, a crackle. Of course, that could just be the one that I've got on my desk, but I have heard similar complaints from other people. Now maybe I've just kept it, you know, in humid conditions for too long, because condenser mics and humid conditions don't go well together. I don't know. Maybe it's something like that. Maybe it has just deteriorated over time. And then there is the other thing, that the Yeti is great if you know how to use it. If your mic technique's good, if you wind the gain down, if you work it fairly close, and again, depending on what you want. If you want to hear what the room sounds like, then great. But a lot of the time you don't really want to know what your kitchen sounds like. You just want to hear a well-recorded voice. So it's horses for courses, isn't it?
It is. I'm calling you from Flagstaff, Arizona, so humidity is not a problem.
Right, there you go. Yeah, you're in one of the driest places in the world, so you'll be okay there. I was in contact with Sam Walker earlier today, who's not a million miles away from you now.
She's down in Phoenix.
Yeah. Do you know Sam?
I made contact with her recently. We got in contact with each other kind of by mistake.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, hoping to meet up in person at some point when there isn't a virus flying around.
Indeed. Well, there you go. That's the British Arizona invasion. You and Sam, the pair of you. Brilliant. Well, it's nice to talk to you. Have you got anything else?
Thank you.
Have you got anything else to ask?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any experience of sending out mics and getting interviewees to use this system, or would they have to? I'm just a bit confused about, say I have a guest somewhere remote. Can I record them on this system without them having to pay for and download ipDTL?
Well,
that's what
yes, you can. You can send them the link, as you know, what you've done now. Go to the link, enter your name. They can do exactly the same thing, and by default they don't see the complex version that you and I are seeing. They see the simplified version, which I showed earlier, and so they can do that. Now that segues nicely into what I would have been hoping to show you, which is, I don't know if you're seeing the stream now, but if I cut to my camera, this is our dispatch box, which we're calling it, which is a USB SIP codec, and these are great for sending out to guests. You could send one out and then bring it. Now it's interesting, while you're not talking, your microphone's gating, and it sounds like the kettle's coming to a boil now. So I'm just gonna
hang on, let me.
No, it's fine. I can just ride the fader. It's no problem. But it's just interesting to observe that on a Windows laptop. It must have some kind of automatic gain control on it. So this is a USB SIP codec. We're calling it the dispatch box, and it's got a touchscreen on it. It's not plugged in at the moment. You connect it to the internet, you plug in a USB mic and a pair of headphones, and it's got a touchscreen, so you can dial through to the remote party, or you can dial them. We have a non-touchscreen version as well. These are great to sending out to guests who are not so tech savvy. And then you could get them to, we use through Parcel Monkey, we book DX couriers. It's just going to crackle a bit while I take this out of the plastic wrapper. We use DX couriers to collect stuff and send it to people's houses, and then, collect it and send it on to the next house or whatever. This is the non-touchscreen version, which comes in a tiny little box, and you just plug the USB mic into that, plug the headphones into the mic, and the user then doesn't have to worry about web pages and things and checking their sample rate settings, or all of those things that can be an issue. Does that help at all?
Very helpful. Thank you very much.
No problem. So I'll just fade you up again. Well, it's really nice to talk to you. And I suppose the other thing to observe is that we're talking across the ocean here, and it doesn't make a lot of difference as to whether we're in the same country or whatever. Let's just, out of curiosity, do the old counting test. So I'm going to count to 5, and I want you to join in with me. 1,
okay.
2,
3, 4,
So
5.
there is a second round trip delay between between you in Flagstaff, Arizona, and me in Hebden Bridge, West Yorkshire, England.
Good old Hebden.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm from Morecambe, so.
Oh, you're fairly local. So there you go. I mean, I think for a round trip, bear in mind that's my voice coming to you and your voice coming back to me, so it's double. That round trip delay is only a second. I would say, I would use the word only there when you consider the convoluted path that it's going on. So great, lovely to talk to you, Diane. Anything else from you?
Thank you very much. No, just thanks for your patience. It took me a while, but
no, not at all. But at least we proved that it works. So bye for now.
Totally.
Bye. Well, it's coming up to the hour mark, guys. So I think we should start to wrap up. I'm just going to have a glance at the old chat here and see if there's anything else. Can you call phones? I think that's Sarah asking that. Can you call phones? Yes, you absolutely can. If anybody was brave enough to type their own phone number into the chat, then I'll call you now and prove that you can indeed dial a phone from ipDTL. I'll show you it on the screen. You just click on dial pad and you get a dial pad there. Oh, thanks I think that's Sarah saying you can call me. So I am now typing Sarah's number. I'm putting +44 at the beginning because ipDTL doesn't know where in the world we are. So you tell it the country code, which for UK is +44 7845. I've got this I've got this tiny screen under my camera and a little bit difficult to see. I think I've typed that correctly. Let's see what happens. So I've typed it in and that should ring. Let's see what happens there. Hello, Sarah. Oh, she hasn't answered yet. There's the call ring.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. This has worked out quite nicely because you can tell us if we've covered everything and whether it's been a load of old rubbish or not.
No, that's brilliant. Thank you very much. And what would you do if I was like, that was terrible?
Well, it's kind of the damage is done, isn't it? Now, have I, when I started turning my volume down, has that stopped that clipping a bit, or is it still a problem?
It did turn it down a bit. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it is. I think whenever you talk a bit louder, it kind of clicks a bit more.
So it might just be that I need to put some harder limiting on or turn down my input. I've kind of rebuilt my streaming studio from scratch over the last few weeks, and this is the first thing I've used it for in anger. So it's thank you for being my guinea pigs, and sorry that you were my guinea pigs. And well, I can now do some rigorous testing once we're off air and figure out what's gone on there. Did you have any questions, Sarah, that we haven't got to yet? And now, Sarah, you can tell me in the chat what happened there, whether it was your battery. It sounded like you dropped your phone or something. Connection lost. All right, well, that's interesting, because that was almost like an internet wobble. And if that's the case, if my internet has really wobbled, that means that you'll have lost me on the webinar as well. Oh, fair enough. Oh, right. Sarah says she's got bad reception in the chat. So it's interesting. I automatically assume it's a problem on my end. It sounds like, yeah, maybe Sarah had bad connection, but good to talk to you there, Sarah. Well, Sarah, thank you for organizing this event. Great, loving your work amongst all the other stuff that you do. And what is it now? It's 8 o'clock, so we all need to go and get our tea stroke dinner, depending on where you are in the world. Or if it's maybe it's not tea time if you're listening in Arizona, for instance. I think I should wrap up because I can't remember how long we said this would be, but an hour is generally a reasonable amount of time, isn't it? And it feels like we've covered the important things. So thank you for watching. If you want to see ipDTL in use and see how well it works, do watch our virtual village festival that I'm helping my neighbours out with on Saturday. If you look up Heptonstall Festival, which is a tiny little village down the road, we're running it all from my office here on Saturday. So hopefully we'll have all our audio working well for that. If you want to get in touch with me or anyone at Inquality, there are a few of us that run the company. The best way to get in touch is support at ipDTL.com. That's support at ipDTL.com. That's an email address. Also, get us on Twitter, In Quality Media. In Quality Media is our Twitter handle. You can join our Facebook group, and please do. It's got a long title. It's Connecting Quality with ipDTL, Hybrid, and SIP.audio. But if you just type in ipDTL users in your Facebook search, you should come up with that group. It's facebook.com/groups/ipDTL users. Our YouTube channel has got loads of me on it, I'm afraid, and a few other people telling you all about ipDTL and our other services. If you search Connect in Quality, all as one word, Connect in Quality on YouTube, or even if you just type that into Google, Connect in Quality, all one word, that should bring up our YouTube channel. And well, that's enough stuff, I think, isn't it? Sam says it's been really helpful, so thanks, Sam. Gareth says likewise, and Lena, and the rest of you, all of you watching. And the final thing, we promised you a free gift for being here, which is an ipDTL day pass worth £15 each, plus VAT if you were buying it online. We're giving you that for free. So I'm going to liaise with Sarah, and we'll make sure we have your details, and you will each get sent. It's essentially just a URL, a web address. You go to that web address, activate the day pass, and you can use ipDTL, including ISDN calling and phone calling and receiving ISDN calls for a 24-hour period. Make sure you chase up with Sarah if you don't get that, or indeed drop us a note, support at ipDTL.com or support at SIP.audio. Right, I'm going to stop talking now. I think I've talked for long enough. Thank you very much for watching, and well, I hope we